We're checking to make sure all our connections are fine, and we'll be live in just a few seconds. All right, we're live on YouTube. We're live on X. We're waiting to go live on Facebook. It's activating for Facebook. Should be on shortly. Getting ready to stream on Facebook. Folks, we're just doing this because we want to make sure everyone's streaming correctly, and Facebook sometimes is a little slow to connect. I'm seeing one error here, so let me see if I can get that connected. Oh, shoot, I should have done that, but no, we'll be fine, right? Chatham Journal Facebook is up, X is up, so we can go ahead and get ready to go in just a second. All right, folks, Gene Gowan here with the Chatham Journal. I got a Shibo Rojas of the Chatham News and Record, and we're back for our weekly Chatham NC Sports Roundup. A lot of stuff going on. Shibo's had a busy few days. He's over at the state championship wrestling over in Greensboro. A lot of stuff going on there, including big news for Seaford wrestlers. Of course, the North Carolina High School Athletic Association basketball playoffs started on Tuesday, the first round, second round coming up on Friday. Shibo's got a bunch of stuff going on with that. The Chatham News and Record paper comes out today, so Shibo will give you a rundown of what stories he's got in the print paper. Of course, everyone's favorite, Shibo's Athlete of the Week, find out who that is, and then we'll get into a wrap-up of winter sports. Also, some of the spring sports are started up already this week. Shibo will get into that as well. And then we'll talk about where Shibo and I will be tomorrow night, because there's several local basketball playoff games going on that. So let me get rid of this graphic and bring Shibo up and hand it off to him. All right, there we go. Shibo, go ahead and let's start off with wrestling. Big time in Greensboro, and you were there for all of it. So tell folks what was going on there.
Yeah, so I made it for the finals rounds for the last day on Monday for the 2A championships. And yeah, it was a great day, of course, for Seaford. They went back-to-back with the individual title as a team. It's won with a score of 149, and they got 3 individual champions from the tournament this year. So Lane Armstrong, he went back-to-back for himself, winning this time in the 132-pound weight class. He took down Mount Pleasant's Cameron Goo in the first period. It was a pretty quick pin. I think it was 1 minute, 20 seconds. And then, of course, after he went over and hugged his dad, head coach for Seaford, Ryan Armstrong, and they had a great father-son moment celebrating his final wrestling match of his senior year. So he goes out as a 2-time state champion. And then Gabe Rogers gets his first, the junior. He won for the 126-pound weight class, if I'm not mistaken. Yep. And no, 120. I'm sorry. Excuse me, 120-pound division. And that one, he had a wild finish in that one. Wrestled West Caldwell's Fernando Teniente. And at the end of the third period, Teniente actually got him on his back and scored 5 points on the buzzer. I think he got a near fall to kind of give him the points to send the match into overtime. But you know, Gabe Rogers, he didn't sweat it. He just calmed down. Took his time in overtime period and got a quick takedown and won with the Southern victory. So he also got to hug his dad on the sideline, Pete Rogers, who's an assistant and was sitting with Ryan, coaching the guys in all their matches. And then Jordan Miller, of course, brother Josh Miller, who graduated last year after winning a state championship. He got his first individual title for 113. And yeah, just talking to him, he talked about how he cut more this year, took wrestling with a greater work ethic, worked harder in the gym this year. And after not placing last year, he comes back and wins the whole tournament. And congrats to Jordan. Congrats to the Seaford Hawks. Great tournament for them and great finishes from other wrestlers as well, because they had Ethan Kubal, who finished as a runner-up actually in the 215-pound division after losing to Randleman's Brandon Walker by a 14-2 major decision. So, like I said, great team effort by the Hawks after losing that dual team. And I talked to Armstrong after that dual team championship, and he told them, the message to the team is season's not over. And they took that to heart. They bought in to finish out the year strong and got another state title under their belt. So just looking at the rest of our county wrestlers in the tournament and where they finished. Harrison Compton from Seaforth in 190. He finished in third place. Judge Lloyd from Seaforth in 175, finished in fifth place. Chance Cody from Seaforth in 138. He lost in the consolation third round. Alex Hinchman from Seaforth in 165, lost in the consolation third round. Benjamin Johnson as well from Seaforth was there for 144, lost in consolation second round. And then Jakari Blue from Jordan Matthews, representing in 190, lost in the consolation second round. Nehemiah Page from Jordan Matthews, 120 as well, consolation first round exit. And then finally Elijah Farrell from Northwood in 165, lost in the consolation first round. So they all got some action, some pretty good run in the tournament, and represented Chatham County well.
Yeah, I was going to say, folks were excited about the fact that we had 14 Chatham County wrestlers in the tournament, which was neat. The other thing, too, I just want to let folks know, thank you for watching the live stream. I looked at the numbers from last week. We had over 1,600 of you take a look at the live stream. And again, we're on every Thursday. And you also, Shibo mentioned Coach Rogers and Coach Armstrong. Both of those coaches, wrestling coaches for Seaforth, were on the live stream. Shibo and I have already talked. Once the spring sports are really going underway, we'll probably have some of the spring coaches, Chatham County coaches, on with us as well. So I appreciate all the folks that are watching. Anything else? Go ahead.
Oh, yeah, I was about to say, I forgot to mention as well, our Chatham Central finishers as well in 1A. Excuse me. I forgot the 1A kids. Carson Williams from, of course, Chatham Central for 150, finishing fifth place, and Steven Silhan III for 190, finishing fifth place as well. So just wanted to add those in there. And then forget about the Chatham Central.
I noticed that they had posted the fact that those guys had been able to finish in fourth. I think it was fourth and fifth place. So again, the fact that you've gotten into the tournament out of 100 plus schools in the whole state, that is pretty good stuff. So anything else on that before we go into the other big event that started on Tuesday?
Nope. I think we covered wrestling. Yeah, it was a great season. Like I said, talking to the Seaforth guys after their win, they're really happy with the way the season ended. So, and of course, they're bringing a lot of those same kids back for their senior years, for some of them for their junior years. Also bringing in some pretty good freshmen as well, from what I'm hearing, that are looking forward to joining the program and continuing that standard.
Okay, you may not know the answer to this question, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Do you know if any of those wrestlers are going to go on to compete and on the college level, or we don't have that information yet?
Well, I think the one we know is Lane Armstrong is going to Mount Union to compete in wrestling. I think I'm still waiting to hear from some of the others and other seniors of what they decide to do for college. But I do know Lane Armstrong will be going to Mount Union. Pretty good program.
All right. And folks, I just want to remind you, Ashibo's been doing articles. He's put out, I know, at least 2 articles in the Chatham News and Record newspaper, just talking about Chatham County athletes who are playing on the college level. And I know you're going to continue to do that because the feedback on that has been positive. We actually will run into a couple of parents when we've been out covering an event saying, hey, Ashibo, thanks for doing that. Because again, it's folks still do want to know how Chatham County folks are doing. All right, so let's get into basketball. I'm going to hand that off entirely to you as well because a lot went on. We had a bunch of teams make it, some at a high level, some in the middle, and then there were some that, hey, they got into the tournament, but they weren't in the upper half, and that's a little hard to do. So, Ashibo, let me hand that off to you.
Yeah, so our basketball playoffs started, like Gene said, on Tuesday. We had 5 girls teams and 5 boys teams make it. But starting on the boys side, I went to Chatham Charter and Woods Charter. Chatham Charter 17 seed, Woods Charter the 16 seed in the 1A East bracket. And this is their 4th meeting of the year. They met twice in the regular season. Woods had won the first one. Chatham Charter won the second one. And then they met in the Central Tar Heel 1A conference tournament in the semifinals. And Chatham Charter edged Woods Charter in that one as well. So 3 good games, 2 of them decided by 1 possession. Had to go to this one because I knew it was going to be a good one between the 2 rivals, and it was pretty much back and forth. I think it was just like 25-20 at halftime. And Brendan Lavelle from Chatham Charter just really active on the offensive glass, getting putbacks and being his usual self down low. I think he finished the game there with 15 points. Gabe McCoy, their guard, finished with 17. And Woods Charter really struggled shooting the basketball. Chatham Charter had a great defensive strategy. against Woods. And yeah, they got the win, 7-point win for them, 52-45 in that one. And they advance to number 1, Washington County. That's who they are going to tomorrow. So tough second round matchup. But talking to Coach Jason Messier after the win, he said the message is just to believe. They believe that they're a good enough team to go and compete on that level and in that game. So we'll see how that goes Friday. But also in the 1A boys bracket, we had number 7 Chatham Central playing against number 26 Gates County. Chatham Central got the win there, 88-22. And then for them, they're getting to host the defending 1A state champions, number 10 Wilson Prep, on Friday. I will be there for that game. Wilson Prep, just a really good team coming in, 20-5 overall, averaging 75 points per game. And yeah, I mean, just a really, really good competition for Chatham Central here in the second round. It's going to be a tough one, and it should be a good one tomorrow night at Bear Creek. And then just looking at the 2A boys, also from Tuesday, number 3 Northwood took care of business against number 30 Camden County, 60-25. Cam Fowler scored his 1,000th career point in that game, so congratulations to Cam Fowler. He has become Northwood's 6,000-point scorer in the last 6 years. And of course, we know Bo Harvey had got it earlier this year from Northwood as well. Drake Powell did it last year, and some other players did it in recent memory. So congrats to Cam and Northwood on advancing from the first round. They're going to host number 14 Southwest Edgecombe tomorrow night. Southwest Edgecombe, 19-5 overall. They play in a tough conference, of course, with number 1 Farmville Central and Washington, who beat Northwood earlier in this year as well. So should be a pretty good game there for Northwood as well. And then the 2A boys got an upset. Seaford went into Franklin Academy, number 9, and beat them 62-55. So Seaford, the number 24 seed, advanced past the first round. They're going to go to number 8 Eastern Wayne tomorrow night. Eastern Wayne, 21-4 overall. They were first in their conference, and they got some pretty good scorers in their team as well. But house out to Coach Barry and the Hawks, finishing, I think, 4th in the conference this year, and just kept working at it. They competed with some of the conference best teams, wanted to get some other tough teams like Northwood and Southeast Alamance, but took that, built on that momentum they kind of had at the end of the regular season, and got a playoff win here in the first round. So congrats to Seaford. And that wraps up our boys' first round and second round matchups. And then for the girls' sides of things, starting with 1A, we had number 9 Chatham Central beating number 24 Southside 69-34. And Chatham Central, now they get a rematch with number 8 Beargrass Charter, who they beat last year, I think, in the second round as well, 38-25. So should be a good one, as they have to travel once again to Beargrass Charter and try to repeat what happened last year. And Beargrass Charter, just to give an overview of them, 19-6 overall, pretty good team this year as well. And then, but Beargrass Charter, to get to the second round, they had to beat number 25 Chatham Charter, 76-43 on Tuesday night as well. And then for Woods Charter, they played against number 2 seed Wilson Prep and lost 57-23. And then looking at our 2A side of things for the girls, number 2 Seaforth, they won over number 31 Spring Creek 73-15. So took care of business in that game. Seaforth will host number 18 Clinton tomorrow night. Clinton 17-9 overall, 3rd in their conference, with number 1 Fairmont and another good team in St. Paul. So they're battle tested. Should come with some good competition for Seaforth in the second round tomorrow night. And then we have for Northwood, they lost to number 16 Southwest Edgecombe 59-49. I know a lot of people were looking at Northwood seeding, knowing they were around, I think, 10 or 11 in the RPI before the playoffs started, and they get seeded at 17. So they kind of got an unfavorable draw in that first round, playing a tough team against Southwest Edgecombe, and unfortunately they couldn't come out on top. So season ended for Northwood and 2 other of our girls' teams. So yeah, we just have I think 4 boys teams playing tomorrow night, 2 girls teams playing tomorrow night. So we'll see what happens in the second round And I'll be, like I said, I'll be at Chatham Central for the game against Wilson Prep. I think Gene said you'll be at both Seaforth girls and Northwood boys. That's tipping off at 7, right?
Yeah, my plan is to go to Seaforth girls because we talked before the start, and that game starts at 6, and the Northwood boys start at 7. What time does the Chatham Central game start at?
Chatham Central will be tipping off at 7 p.m. as well. Yep.
7 p.m. Okay, so folks, you know what games are being played here in the county. All right, Ashibo, before we move on to other things, before we go on to what's in the paper that you got, let's just look through the games for coming up for Friday, because you've had the opportunity to see all of our local schools. So Chatham Central is going to be defending, and they're playing against, you said Wilson Prep. Is that who they're playing against?
Yep, number 10 Wilson Prep. Like I said, the defending 1A champions. So it's going to be a tough one in the second round. I think last year Chatham Central also got a tough second round matchup at home, and I'm sure they remember losing that game because last year I'm sure they probably thought they were going to make a deep playoff run in 1A, like we all thought. This year, of course, they gotten a little better. Added Brennan Oldham, so I'm sure they're feeling like they can make another deep run in the playoffs. And with the guys that were there last year that kind of remember that loss, I'm sure that's going to be heavy on their minds as they go into this game tomorrow. So, yeah, I think we're going to see. For anyone going to that game, I think it's going to be a really good game, high level competition with Wilson Prep. Like I said, Wilson Prep can really score the basketball, so we might see a high scoring game. We know Chatham Central can score the basketball, and yeah, it's just gonna come down to probably who can get the most stops in this game defensively, who can come up with the best strategy. I'm sure Wilson Prep already knows Reed Albright is the guy to key in on for Chatham Central. Everyone in 1A in the 1A East division should know that. So just seeing, what some of the supporting cast can do with Brennan Oldham as well. He also leads the offense sometimes for the Bears. See if he can help take the load off of Reed, Luke Gaines as well. If he can knock some shots down, Simon Saba as well down low. It's going to take a team effort to beat Wilson Prep tomorrow, and I think Chatham Central has what it takes to take on the competition and get it done.
Well, I would agree with you. And then the other thing, with that being a 7 o'clock game on a Friday night, that gym's going to be packed. So, folks, Ashibo's definitely going to be there. Look for him. Let me ask you this question. You mentioned that Wilson Prep averaged 75 points per game. That's a lot of points per game. Do you suspect that Chatham Central will try to slow down the game? And do you see Wilson Prep, scoring as high as 75 points? What's your feel? Because I've seen Chatham Central play, they usually like to try to slow down and control the game. How do you think they're going to tackle Wilson Prep this year?
Yeah, I think like you said, we saw Coach Burke at Chatham Central do the same thing with playing Northwood, right? Knowing you're playing the team that can really run it up on the scoreboard, trying to slow down offensively, limit possessions, I think is one thing Chatham Central will probably try to do tomorrow and try to just control the pace of this game, especially with it being on their home court. I think they're going to try to be as in control of the game as possible and making sure they get, the right shots, not rushing into anything, passing the ball around, and really making Wilson Prep work defensively and offensively as well. We know Chatham Central is going to come with a pretty good defensive plan as well with Coach Burke, and they're really good in working out of their press and putting pressure on the basketball, making you turn the ball over as well. So I imagine we'll see a lot of that. And like I said, it could be, like I said, it's going to come down to, of course, who's going to play the better defense tomorrow night, because both teams can really light it up. And it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard for both teams to slow each other down. I'll say that. So. Okay. Yeah, we'll see how well the defense fares for both sides, but like I said, I do imagine Chatham Central will try to slow it down like they have against opponents where they know they can light it up.
Okay, and I do want to remind folks again, Ashibo's on X on Ashibo R38. He usually updates on the quarter, and the other thing too is after the game. If Chatham Central wins, we'll probably have a couple interviews with both the coach and the players, and that should be a good game. I think this is what we've talked about throughout the season, the fact that Chatham Charters plays in a split 1A, 2A conference will help them against games like this, because there's some 1A competitors that they go up against that don't have that kind of a competition. I think as you said, Coach Berg playing Northwood and playing Seaforth and other teams, and they defeated Seaforth. This should be a good game. So, folks, if you're on the western part of the county, you want to see a good game, check out the Chatham Central game. All right. Let's talk about the Northwood game. You mentioned Cam Fowler hit his 1,000th point. His mom is especially proud, and she's posted this on her Facebook page, that not only did he hit his 1,000th point, but he hit his 1,000th point in his junior year. So I think that's pretty impressive. And as you mentioned, Bo Harvey hit his 1,000th a few weeks ago. So congratulations to those guys. How do you see that game? Well, what's your impressions from their game, their first game on Tuesday, and how do you see them going into that game against Southwest Edgecombe this Friday? That game's at 7 p.m.
Yeah, so Southwest Edgecombe, like I said, they played in a tough conference, but I think Northwood, they played this level of competition, right? They went out and played Washington, got a taste of that, and lost in a close game. Southwest Edgecombe, not as strong as Washington or Farmville Central out of that conference. But I think Northwood right now is playing with a lot of confidence. We talked to Coach Brown, a couple of weeks ago in the kind of later games of conference play, and he felt like they were peaking at that time. And ever since then, I mean, they've just been rolling. And they got another test with Southeast Alamance at Southeast Alamance during the conference championship, handled that one. That one was a closer game. For anyone that wasn't there, it was actually a pretty close game through the third quarter, and they buckled down defensively. And Cam Fowler turned up there in the fourth quarter and helped pull them away. So that confidence, knowing that you got the Cam Fowler that can give you 20 a night, he can lead you in close game situations if need be. I think Northwood should feel really good about this game. And really, I mean, I think they should feel really good about themselves past this round, maybe even past the third round, because, like I said, with Cam Fowler, one of the best players in the state, especially definitely in 2A at this point. You also got Chad Graves down low, who's been getting better and better, of course, from last year to this year, but game after game this season as well. And then you also got guys like we said around him that can step up and play to that same level. Isaiah Blair, Bo Harvey with handling the basketball. Harris Burleson can knock some shots down. Of course, Josiah Brown can come off the bench and knock some shots down as well. And they also been bringing in Rajay Torres to help handle the ball and provide some defense for them as well. So it's just a really deep team. Like I said, experience with playing high competition, playing in playoff type games this season already from earlier in the year. I think Northwood should feel really good about tomorrow.
Yeah, the interesting thing is I've seen on social media where you mentioned Farmville Central. There's some Farmville Central fans out there that are already talking junk about meeting up against Northwood. So maybe they're thinking that they'll run into Northwood somewhere down the road. We'll see about that, but they got to get past Southwest Edgecombe. I agree with you. I think Northwood should come ahead in this game if they take Edgecombe seriously, because in the playoffs, it's a one and done type of thing, and you can't take any one of your competitors, even if they're a number 14 going up against a number 3. You've got to take those folks seriously. Talking about folks taking folks seriously, I don't know if the competition took Seaforth seriously, because as you said, that was an upset. Seaforth had to travel and they won that game. What can you tell us about that game, and as well as the fact that they're going to Eastern Wayne to play on Friday?
Yeah, so I of course I wasn't there, so I can't tell you too much about how the game went down, but it's just knowing Seaforth, like we said, the conference they played in, they kind of were always hanging around, especially with some of the better teams. With Chatham Central, they could have beaten Chatham Central twice, and so they've shown at certain points of the season how good they could be. Of course, consistency has been a problem with Seaforth this year, but I think catching them on a good night, like I imagine Tuesday night was for them, and we know Coach Barry is going to have a team that's centered around defense. So if they're not going to be scoring, they're going to make it hard for you to score. Holding Franklin Academy to 55 points looks like that's what they did Tuesday night. And then of course we know that a team that can be pretty streaky, especially from the 3-point line, with Declan Lindquist, Campo Metter, those guys can knock some threes down, and when they're on, they're on. And of course, when you got Noah Lewis attacking, they got some pieces at Seaforth that can come up and surprise you. And I think, going into Eastern Wayne, I mean, as a low seed, it should feel like fun for Seaford this year because, like you said, people have been counting them out. No one really had them on the radar. Probably never didn't really expect them to get past the first round this season, but yeah, they're here now. So I think they're going to give it their all tomorrow night at Eastern Lane. Even if they do come up short, I mean, this season still, to me, of course, it was an improvement from last season. It should be a good sign for Seaford going forward.
Yeah, we've had Coach Barry on the live stream with us, and both you and I and a lot of folks in the community know that he does not like to give up. So even if they don't win this game, I know that people hate saying that there's a good loss. I think he's setting the foundation for future success for the C4 program, and the fact that they won their first game. Because as you said, I think there were a lot of people that are saying, "Oh, yeah, that's a L in there for C4 that hasn't turned out." So as Shebo said, there's going to be four. There's the camera. Four boys teams continuing to play on Friday. Sheba will be at the Central game, and I will be at the Northwood game. I may not be there right at the beginning because I'm going to be at the Seaford girls game, which we're going to go into the girls basketball roundup portion of it. And two teams have moved on, but let's talk about Chatham Central. Tell us a little bit about what went on with them, and they're going to be up. They're number 9, and they're going to be up against number 8, Beargrass tomorrow. Is that correct?
Yep, number 8, Beargrass. Like I said, rematch of last year's second round, where Chatham Central did have to go to Beargrass and beat them at their place. And I know Coach Albright, she talks about the seeding all the time and how you being in a split conference doesn't really help. Because like this year, right? They kind of have a good team that's not seeded the highest, but they might have to travel second round and prove that they're better than what their seed is. So they have another chance to do it again against the same team. Now, I'm sure Beargrass Charter also remembers last year and what happened. So I'm sure it's going to be tougher this time around for Chatham Central. But I think they're going to go in here, take care of business. Like I said, kind of the same thing with some of the other teams, like some of the other teams in split conferences, right? When you play higher competition, get a taste of what it's like to play against better teams. It's going to help you in the playoffs, especially if you go back down to your classification. And yeah, I think Chatham Central with the senior leadership with Carolee Dotson. Now it's going to be tougher this time without Landry in the lineup for them. She's been hurt since injuring I think her arm a couple weeks ago. But yeah, I don't see Chatham Central. Why they couldn't win this game tomorrow night. So I think we should pretty much expect them to be in that third round. Beargrass Charter, like I said, 19-6 overall, and they actually won their conference. But conference, maybe might not be as strong this year. So.
Well, you and I know that Coach Albright would have liked to have been up a little bit higher than number 9, and she would have. I know she would have preferred to have this game at home versus having to travel. So,
yeah,
and I'm sure she's expressed that opinion to several people. All right, so hey, Coach Albright, we're rooting for you because we want to talk about how you beat Beargrass. And look, I don't mind saying I am a homer when it comes to Chatham County schools. I want all of them to do well. Chatham Charter girls unfortunately lost on Tuesday. Give us a little bit more detail on that one.
Yeah, Chatham Charter, they played against Beargrass, but the Chatham Charter, of course, not the same Chatham Charter girls team we've seen in the past couple of years. It's been kind of a rebuild year. They had a lot of young girls come in and step in and play some big roles this year, but they still battled their way to the top of the conference, made it to the playoffs, came in as a low seed and had a tough draw. Of course, having to travel out to Beargrass Charter and losing that one. So, like I said, Beargrass Charter, they're still a good team, right? They beat Chatham Charter by a large margin, 76-43. And just going back to that Chatham Central game, I just think Chatham Central should have a lot of confidence going into that game. But yeah, Chatham Charter just fell short. And like I said, a younger team this year. I think next year will be a better year for them as they bounce back with some more experience and get another year of playing together under their belt. So, yeah, that's what I got for there.
All right, Northwood girls lost. And you mentioned on the RPI they were like number 10, and they actually ended up being seeded. I think you mentioned 16, so didn't turn out the way they were hoping that it would turn out this year.
Yeah, so yeah, like I said, they got a tough draw as the 17 seed, having to travel to Southwest Edgecombe and play a 16 seed. So all that, the travel in the first round, it's tough, like you said, to win that game. And yeah, just fell short in this one, 59-49. I'm not too sure more on the details because I don't think there were any stats from this game uploaded, but so I can't tell you too much what happened.
No worries.
Yeah.
All right, and Seaforth, really no surprise there. Number 2 girls. You and I have talked about this earlier, well, several times during the season. My feeling, I think Coach Bird would agree with it, and most of the team would agree with it. They're looking to get back to that championship game again this year. So, and they're going up against number 18 Clinton at 6 p.m. And personally, I don't know about how you feel about it, but my feeling is they're going to come up strong against Clinton, and they're going to take the lead and not let it go because they've got so many different weapons. It's not just Gabby White. They've all of their 5 starters. They can depend on them so that if Clinton tries to concentrate on any one player, they can always give the ball to somebody else.
Yeah, scary thing about Seaforth is this whole season, right? They haven't been at full force. They've been down Mia Moore for most of the season. They got her back at the end, and she's knocked down some big shots for them in some big games. Especially if we want to go back to the tournament championship game against Southeast Alamance, she knocked down some big threes. So, yeah, like you said, they have a lot of players they could dish the ball out to, and that's kind of the strategy. I think with Seaforth now is of course send the offense around Gabby, let her drive. Of course, if she has an open lane, she's going to take it and score. If she doesn't, she has shooters to get it out too. And of course, Camille Roselle is a really good rebounder down low who can get some second chance points. Gabby White herself is a really good rebounder. So there's a lot of things with Seaforth that's going to make it really hard to beat them. And like I said, kind of like the Northwood boys, I think they should feel really good going into that game tomorrow, getting to host. They've been here before. They have their eyes. They like you said, they have their eyes set on the state title. They're aiming high this year because they've had a taste of it. Couldn't get it done. Kind of got back last year in the Final Four. Fell short. So with this being a senior season for Gabby White, Peyton Collins, that group, I think they're focused this year, and I think they take care of business tomorrow night.
All right. Ashibo will be at the Chatham Central boys game. I'm planning to be at the first half of the Seaforth game. I'm on X at Chatham NC. That sometimes the internet's not the best. I will try to update the first quarter and second quarter scores if I'm out there and able to get that out. So that's a scoop here. And let's talk about what you got coming up in the newspaper, in the paper that you pick up today. So Shibo, let us know what your stories are. Go.
Yeah, so this week we have, of course, stories from the Mid Carolina 1A, 2A conference boys and girls basketball titles. Seaforth and Northwood both won over Southeast Alamance in those games. You can read more about them in that story. Of course, we have a story from Seaforth winning back-to-back individual wrestling state titles, and you can read more about kind of what went on in those matches, the championship matches for Lane Armstrong, Gabe Rogers, and Jordan Miller, and of course, like we said, a list of where the rest of the county's wrestlers finished. And then 2 other stories, kind of longer feature stories. Of course, we have a long feature on Daisy Collins from Woods Charter Swimming. You can learn more about Collins, who she is as a swimmer, kind of her background, and what she's had to get through, this past year, about year and a half, leading up to the state championship, in which she won 2 titles in the 200 free and 500 free, and was named most outstanding swimmer in the 1A, 2A meet. She also shattered the 1A, 2A records for those races. So huge accomplishments for her. And you can read more about just, like I said, her background and how she got to this point only as a sophomore. And then in the paper today, online tomorrow, we have another addition to the youth football series that I've been working on for about the past few months. And this one is about middle school football, kind of give us a little bit of context, a backstory to the fight for middle school football. We talked about it with former Northwood coach Bill Hall, and he gave more details about a meeting him and other former Chatham County coaches had. We're trying to start a league, and then it goes into why, getting some information from the school board and the county AD Chris Blyce about why the county doesn't have football at its middle schools, and it talks more about the reasons why that hasn't been a thing yet. So yeah, you can read more. Just more another story. Like I said, just given an overview of the landscape of youth football in Chatham County. That's what I just want to do with this project, because I know a lot of people have vouched for, like you said, like I said, schools, middle school football at the middle schools. And now we have more youth football options coming up this year, right? With Darren Little and some of the guys at Chatham Central starting middle school league, feeder league for Chatham Central. That's rolling now, and they're trying to get ready for the fall. And then, of course, we have East Chatham and Siler City still providing youth football for the younger kids and some of the middle school kids as well, just on limited teams. So, yeah, just another addition to that. And that's all I got in the paper this week.
All right. I was going to add, you were talking about football. One of the things you and I were planning to be at was on Saturday at 10 a.m. The NFL flag football was supposed to start at Northwood. However, Cedric Pearman, who's the former NFL player who's leading up this effort, let Ashibo and I know that they weren't able to get in there because school got closed down for several days because of the weather conditions, that they couldn't get in there to set up the field for that. So I guess we'll reach out to Cedric and see if they're a go for this Saturday. If they are, hopefully I'll be able to go out there and grab some pictures and videos. So that's where we're at. But let's get to everybody's favorite part. We're all going to go up, and let me make sure I got the right captain ready to flow. Who is this week's Ashibo Rojas Athlete of the Week?
Yeah. So this week, Athlete of the Week comes from Seaforth Girls Basketball. It's going to be Peyton Collins, the senior. She had a great week during the Mid-Carolina 1A, 2A Girls Tournament. She scored career high 31 points against Northwood in their win against the Chargers in the tournament. In that game, she went 8 for 10 from the three-point line. Ended the night with shooting 77% from the floor. And then in that tournament final against Southeast Alamance, if you guys are there, she was a big part of Seaforth getting that lead in the first half. She scored 11 points, and 9 of them in the first half. And she had multiple steals early in that game that led to some buckets on the other end and some more scoring opportunities. So she's been crucial, like I said, to Seaforth's success this season. She also hit her 1,000 points this season as a senior. And just from the recent stretch, she has scored in double digits for Seaforth's last 5 games prior to the start of the playoffs. So congratulations to Peyton Collins on a great week of basketball, a great season, and of course a great career once this season gets finished up in a couple weeks.
Definitely congratulations to Peyton. And I know her folks are real happy about that. They're really proud of how her kid has been doing at Seaforth. And I was going to say, I've been shooting sports long enough in Chatham County and also in college level that I have found that most of the kids that participate in sports, whether it's in high school or in college or middle school, usually have a tendency to do better in school and also better in life. So there you go. All right, we're ready to touch a little bit. Let's wrap up anything else that we need to wrap up on winter sports and then get into spring sports. But before we do that, I think high school OT actually put out their early rankings for the girls soccer teams, and in the 2A division, guess who they picked as one of their top teams? Seaforth Girls. So they made it to the championship game last year. Let's see how they do this season. All right, Ashibo, handing it back over to you. Let's wrap up the winter sports, and then let's talk about spring sports. And one of the other things, too, is once spring season is fully underway, we will try to get some of the spring Chatham County coaches on with us for the live stream. All right, Ashibo, go.
Yeah, starting with spring sports this past week. So we have baseball, softball, boys and girls lacrosse, and girls soccer. See some action. Just a quick rundown of some of the scores from this week and season openers. In baseball, Seaforth opened the season with an 8-0 loss to Wake Forest in that one. So they'll go again tonight at Southern Alamance. And then Northwood, they actually got a big opening win on the season, 10-0 over Northmore. And so they're playing Northmore again tomorrow night at Northmore. Eastern Randolph beat Jordan Matthews 16-1 in the Jets' first game. So Jordan Matthews will get a bounce back at Montgomery Central Monday. Southeast Alamance over Chatham Central to start the year with a big conference game, 2-1 in that one. So Chatham Central will get another shot at the Stallions tonight at Southeast Alamance. And then for Chatham Charter, they haven't started yet, but they'll play South Stokes Saturday to start the season in the 2025 Patriot Invitational at Providence Grove. So that's just a quick rundown for baseball. Softball, Chatham Central started the year strong, 12-2 win over Eastern Randolph. And that one, Mason Smith, 2 for 3, 2 RBIs. The Bears will be at Eastern Randolph tomorrow night. Once again, Jordan Matthews, 18-5 win over Lee County. In that one, they scored 12 runs in the fourth inning. And so the Jets will be back at it versus Northwood on Tuesday. And Northwood, they lost to Northmore 16-0 in their first game. They'll be at they'll be versus hosting Southeast Alamance tomorrow. Seaforth lost to Apex Friendship 14-3. And they'll be at Graham tomorrow, talking about Seaforth. And then Chatham Charter softball, they haven't started yet, just like the baseball team. But the Knights will get started Monday at Providence Grove at 6 p.m. So quick rundown of baseball and softball. Boys and girls lacrosse, going through boys lacrosse, Athens Drive 16, Northwood 5. It's to start the season for Northwood. And then Seaforth lost to East Chapel Hill 13-6. On the girls' side, Northwood, they'll start on March 12th at Jordan. And Seaforth already has lost twice to start the season to Pinecrest 19-8. And then they lost last night to Apex 17-3. And then girls soccer, just running down some of the first scores of the year. Carborough beat Northwood 9-0. And then Southern Alamance beat Jordan Matthews 9-0 as well earlier in this week. So Seaforth, of course, the defending 2A state champions, probably ranked the number one team in 2A, one of the best teams in the state. They will get started with their season Monday at Graham. And Chatham Charter will get started with their girls soccer season versus Cornerstone Charter on Tuesday. So quick rundown of the beginning of spring sports. I'll be at more baseball, softball, girls soccer, lacrosse in the coming weeks as we finish up with basketball, because I know a lot of kids. There are some kids that are on basketball teams that will also be suiting up for baseball teams in a couple days or weeks, depending on how the basketball playoffs finish out.
Yeah, I know the Northwood lacrosse coach, you usually has a couple of basketball players. It's kind of like, yeah, it's that time of season where you kind of have to wait till they finish off their one season. Hey, but we all hope they do well in the tournament run. All right, places we're going to be. Ashibo is going to be at the Chatham Central boys game at 7 o'clock on Friday. I will be at the first half of the Seaforth girls game at 6, and then I'm going to run over and do the Northwood boys game that starts at 7. So, folks, that's where we're going to be on Friday. There's going to be a lot of stuff going on for next week. Follow Shibo on Shibo R38 on X. He lets you know where he's going to be at. He also posts scores when he's out somewhere, and usually after games he does post-game interviews that the videos are up. The other thing I just want to let folks know, middle school, we got a lot of positive feedback from the fact that Ashibo was out there covering the middle school basketball tournament. His discussion with Coach Bland, it's like that one blew up. Folks were, Coach Bland, congratulations. Ashibo did a really nice job. Not only did he talk with the Horton Middle School coach, but he also talked with the Margaret Pollard Boys School coach. And both those teams were successful in the tournament this year. So I'm glad Ashibo was out there, and I'm sure seeing the positive feedback he got on his stories on the middle school tournament, we'll be back again next year. So, folks, we will see you next Thursday. Ashibo's going to have lots and lots of stuff because I would expect we're going to have several teams that are still going to be playing in the basketball tournament when we're talking to you all next Thursday. Plus, you got all the spring sports that are going to kick into high gear this coming week. And hopefully the weather is going to be good. Ashibo, anything else we need to say before we close this up?
Nope, I think we got it all covered. Yeah, we went 45 minutes today because it's a busy time. Basketball playoffs, transition in the spring. It's a lot going on. So we're trying our best to handle it all and keep up with it all. But, yeah, we appreciate you all for watching. week in and week out. Like you said, a lot of views last week, a lot of love past couple of weeks with middle school basketball, of course, and then wrestling as well coming up. I mean, wrestling championships this past weekend. So, yeah, we appreciate you all for all supporting us, continuing to say hi to us when you guys see us out there in action. So, yeah, looking forward to another great night of basketball tomorrow, and we'll see you out there.
Yeah, I keep telling Ashibo, I want to be at the point where a few years from now I see him on ESPN and I can tell people, yeah, I remember him when he was on the live stream. So, folks, just keep Ashibo in mind because I see the way he's going and being active as to pursuing all the sports stories here in the county. And seriously, I'm getting a lot of feedback as to the great job Ashibo is doing. So I appreciate him joining us for this live stream every week. Folks, thanks for watching. We see you on Saturday. And again, you might see Ashibo at Chatham Central. Let him know he's doing a good job. I know the Chatham Central gym is big enough where you could just say, hey, Ashibo, thanks for what you do. All right, folks, we'll see you next Thursday.